This is the inflatable tent that finally made me stop dreading setup. I can pull into a campsite at dusk, unroll it, pump for a few minutes, and have a standing, livable shelter before my coffee cools. If you camp out of your car, and you care more about a calm, comfortable base camp than shaving ounces, this fits squarely in that category. It's a cabin-style inflatable tent meant for families, small groups, or solo campers who want a roomy, portable room without wrestling with a bag of poles. It's not for backpacking or long walk-in sites. It's for people who want the least stressful setup possible and a space that feels like a small house instead of a low dome. What jumped out to me first is the silhouette and how it changes the inside experience. The vertical walls give you real standing room nearly to the corners, and at 6.5 feet tall, I can move around without hunching. 2 full-height doors on opposite sides make traffic flow easy, especially when kids are running in and out. The 4 windows are 2-layered, so I can switch between full mesh for airflow and zip them up for privacy. The fabric is 300D Oxford, which feels tough and a bit slick, like a high-end rain jacket. It's not silent in the wind, there's a faint crinkle, but it sheds water confidently. The floor feels thick and abrasion-resistant. I don't worry about cots, dog claws, or small pebbles telegraphing through. The air beams are what make it all work. Once inflated, they're surprisingly rigid. Think firm, not bouncy, and they give the tent that chunky, reassuring frame. Zippers are oversized and easy to grab with cold hands. I could run them one-handed without snagging. The color leans warm and neutral, which keeps the interior bright during the day. Setup is the magic trick here. I drop the bag by the pad, drag the tent out, and peg the 4 corners just to keep the footprint square. The included pump connects to the valve, and after a couple of minutes of steady pumping, the structure starts lifting itself. There's a built-in pressure relief, so once it hits the sweet spot, there's a faint hiss, and I know I'm not overdoing it. My best time by myself was a touch under 6 minutes from unrolling to standing, not counting dialing in guy lines. I always add the guy lines because inflatable beams rely on that tension in gusts. Takedown is even faster. Open the valves, and it collapses instantly. Then it's the usual roll, kneel, squeeze routine to push the residual air out. The bag is size tight. I could get it back in, but on damp mornings, I had to be deliberate. On one trip, I used separate compression straps and tossed it into a larger duffel to avoid wrestling. Performance is where I paid attention. Rain first. I had a steady overnight rain and woke up dry. No drips, no seam weeping, and the bathtub floor kept the edges from letting water creep in. The Oxford fabric beads water, and with the rain fly on, the roof never let anything through. Ventilation matters with any polyester tent, and this one's no different. With all the doors and windows sealed, I did get condensation on a chilly night. It showed up as beads on the inside of the fabric and along the air beams. The next night, I left the door tops and 2 windows in mesh mode, and the difference was obvious. Less moisture, less clammy feel on the sleeping bag, and no puddles gathering at the base of the beams. In wind, the tent flexes. That looks scary the first time, but the beams just bow and bounce back instead of snapping like rigid poles. I swapped the stock stakes for longer ones when camping in a breezy coastal site, which settled the tent down noticeably. Under sun, the interior stays bright and usable, but like any polyester cabin tent, it can warm up midday if you close it up. With cross breeze through the 2 doors and windows, I found it comfortable enough to read inside. I tested it on a 3-day state park trip with mixed weather. One evening I rolled in late with light drizzle and fading light. Setup was straightforward. Peg the corners, pump until it stands, run the guy lines, and toss in sleeping pads. I timed that first night just out of curiosity and landed at a smidge over 5 minutes for inflation. It was the first time in a while I didn't start a trip soaked in sweat or frustration. On day 2, we had a breezy afternoon. With 4 guy lines out and upgraded stakes, the structure settled into a gentle sway. Inside, it was quiet enough to nap, though the Oxford does have that soft rustle in stronger gusts. On the final morning, everything was wet with dew. I opened every door and window to air it while we made breakfast, then did a patient roll to push out the trapped air. It all fit back into the stock bag, but it took intent. Space-wise, it's generous without being ridiculous. The floor gives you about 129 square feet. I ran a queen air mattress along one wall and left a corridor for bags and shoes near the opposite door. We also tried 4 regular sleeping pads with a folding camp table in the center for cards, and there was still a comfortable walkway. Because the side walls are nearly vertical, I could use the edges of the floor for bins and gear, which is usually dead space in a dome. I'm 5'11" and walked around normally. That cabin feel makes a difference when you're changing clothes or dealing with restless kids on a rainy hour. At night, the warm, light-colored fabric turns ambient light into a soft glow that's easy on the eyes. A specific scenario that sold me was a quick beach pull-off day. I parked a short walk from the sand and carried the bag down. It's heavy and bulky. If you've got a wagon, use it. I staked it on the leeward side of the dunes and ran just the essential guidelines. Windows in mesh mode and both doors half open gave us a steady breeze. It became an instant living room for snacks and shade. And being able to stand up to change made packing up afterward way less awkward. Sand brushed off the Oxford pretty cleanly, and a quick shake plus a wipe of the floor took care of most of the mess. There are some smart touches that make life easier. The automatic pressure relief takes away the guesswork and prevents that "did I just overinflate this" anxiety. The included hand pump is actually decent. High volume, solid hose, and it attaches securely so you're not fighting air leaks while you pump. Double zippers on the doors let me crack the top for venting even in light rain, which helps with condensation. The repair kit in the bag is the kind of thing you hope to forget about, but it's nice to have on hand. And because the beams are integrated into sleeves, there's nothing to misplace. You unroll, inflate, you're done. It's not perfect. The carry bag is just big enough, so lazy packing will punish you. The stock guidelines and pegs worked, but felt undersized for gusty open sites. I'd plan to bring sturdier stakes if you camp in exposed places. The fabric can get warm under direct noon sun if you don't keep air moving. And on cold nights, you need to commit to ventilation to avoid that rained inside feeling. Also, while the listing says freestanding, you'll get the best results by staking and guying it like you mean it. Treat the beams as the frame and the lines as part of the structure. After a few trips, my takeaway is simple. This is the tent I reach for when I want to remove setup as a variable. It gives me a big, usable space. It stands on its own without a wrestling match, and it rides out rain and typical wind without drama. If you're a family car camper, a solo glamper who wants a roomy base, or someone who often arrives late and wants to be done fast, it fits. If you hike in your gear, or you camp somewhere that requires a long haul from the parking lot, the weight and bulk will be a deal breaker. And if you camp in damp, cold conditions, plan your ventilation and you'll be happy. I will leave all the information about the TOMOUNT Inflatable Camping Tents in the comments. I hope to see you again in the following videos.